Is tofu better than mozzarella? Well, I wanted to find out. First, better? How? Taste, texture, nutrition? Let's start with nutrition. 100 calories of mozzarella comes with 7.4 grams of protein and weighs in at a meek 1.5 ounces. In that small amount, you're going to get 7.4 grams of fat, 4.4 of which is saturated fat, along with 0.7 grams of carbohydrates with no fiber and 26.1 milligrams of cholesterol. Now, with 100 calories of extra firm tofu, that's going to be 10 grams of protein, and you're getting twice as much at a weight of 3.2 ounces. That's going to be 6 grams of fat, only 1 gram of saturated fat, 1 gram of carb, and 1 gram of dietary fiber, leaving you net 0 carbs and no cholesterol. Tofu wins by a lot when it comes to nutrition. Now, what about taste? According to almost everyone on the internet, fresh mozzarella is mild, and I mean that like that's the general concession. That's what people think when you ask them what mozzarella tastes like. Mild. Everyone on Reddit agrees. Even my famous Italian chef friend from Italy, Emma Fontanella. Emma, what does mozzarella taste like?
Mild?
So let's replicate that mild taste. Mozzarella is salty with a mild tang. So I'm going to take our tofu, cut it into 4 blocks, toss it in a saucepan, and cover it with salt and the star of the sour taste in mozzarella, a teaspoon of lactic acid. Now, this lactic acid is not lactose. I have to always say that. It is vegan. It comes from fermenting sugar beets. Anything fermented has lactic acid in it. You can actually drop in a few teaspoons of the juice from sauerkraut and you're going to get a similar taste. Now, we just need to use enough water to cover the tofu, turn on the heat, bring it to a simmer. Once we're at a simmer, we're just going to turn it on low, cover it, and let it rest for 10 minutes, which is plenty of time for today's sponsor.
I talk about coffee all of the time. I used to drink a lot of it, but it was giving me the jitters, keeping me up at night, and honestly, past the first cup of coffee, I wasn't noticing that big of a difference in the amount of energy I had. And that's when I decided to give Mudwater a try. Mudwater is a healthy habits brand with a chocolatey chai tasting morning ritual kit. It's got 4 functional mushrooms, and with only a fraction of caffeine as a cup of coffee, you get natural energy without the jitters or the crash of coffee. Each ingredient was added for a purpose. Cacao and chai for a hint of caffeine and hot chocolate-like flavor, lion's mane for focus, cordyceps to promote natural energy, and both chana and reishi to support a healthy immune system. I drink it black, but you can add sweeteners or even, the Mud's coconut creamer. It comes out really awesome. I've noticed the difference from swapping Mud for my afternoon cup of coffee. It's been pretty great. I've been drinking this for a while now. Plus, it's Whole30 approved, 100% USDA certified organic, non-GMO, gluten-free, vegan, and kosher. So good. It's so good. So gang, Mudwater is hooking up my show with a special offer. If you go to mudwater.com/Saucestache, you can get a free frother and $20 off. That's mudwtr.com/Saucestache for $20 off and a free frother. That's mudwater.com/Saucestache. Mudwater, thanks for sponsoring today's video and for helping me create a better daily ritual.
And we're back. Now, as you saw earlier, we're making a pizza, and I was in the mood for an Italian sausage pizza. So while we're waiting for our tofu to finish, let's toss together a super easy, high-protein, vegan Italian sausage. First, let's start with half of a cup of textured protein crumbles. I'm gonna season these just like Italian sausage. A few shakes of Italian seasoning, about a teaspoon of dried parsley, 1/4 teaspoon marjoram, just a tiny little pinch is really all you need. Now, I'm gonna use about a 1/2 teaspoon smoked paprika, a 1/4 teaspoon of red chili flakes. Now, we need some fennel seeds, probably not nearly as much as I used, which was about a teaspoon. A 1/4 teaspoon of garlic powder, onion powder, and a bit of salt and fresh cracked black pepper. Now, I'm going to add about a tablespoon of olive oil, mix it up really well to make sure all of the TVP is coated, and then add about 2 teaspoons of potato starch. Any starch will do here, but I really like the way potato starch kind of heats and binds up. Now, we're going to give that a mix and then just add enough hot water to cover the TVP and leave it a little soupy and mix that really well. We're going to cover that, let that rest for about 5 minutes. While this is resting, let's make our pizza sauce. I'm just going to use a really simple just can of San Marzano tomatoes, toss it into a large container with some olive oil, fresh basil, tiny little pinch of salt, and blend. And this comes out awesome. It's really all you need for any pizza sauce. Now we're just gonna set that aside and grab our cheese. Well, tofu. Speaking of that, tofu is made very similar to the way cheese is made. So this works pretty good. Now to get the texture close to fresh mozzarella, I'm gonna try to squeeze out as much liquid as possible. Now I'm just gonna grab some cheesecloth, toss in the tofu, wrap it up, and squeeze as tight as I can. Now while it's cooling down, because it was a little bit hot, I'm gonna toss it into a strainer and then continue the squeeze. I actually grabbed a towel just so I can keep doing it without having to wait too long. Now after a bit, the tofu does get nice and springy and actually has that kind of squeaky texture. I really love the way this comes out. Now I'm just gonna keep this tight, let it sit in the strainer, and let it drip dry. At this point, I'm just gonna quickly fry up our sausage in a hot pan with a bit of olive oil. Just let that starch kind of crust up a little bit and give us a nice crumbly Italian sausage texture. At this point, we are ready to bake our pizzas. I have the oven preheated for 400 degrees with like a hot griddle in the oven. It's gonna help get this crust really nice and crusty. I grabbed a pre-made pizza crust. I mean, this video isn't about dough making, so I'm just gonna top that with a little bit of the sauce, top it with some sausage, and now add our tofu. And I mean, honestly, this looks awesome. I'm gonna give it a little squeeze of olive oil, toss it in the oven for around 10 minutes. Now, as far as texture is concerned, we are gonna get a nice bite out of this, but after 10 minutes and this is done, you can see that the tofu doesn't melt. Most of us knew that the tofu wasn't gonna melt, so we are gonna give mozzarella the win on that melty texture. But as far as taste, let's see what Monica has to say. Okay, baby. What do you think?
I'm really excited to eat this because I haven't had lunch yet, and I know this is supposed to be high protein, and I'm
Super high protein.
really trying to build some muscle.
Yeah.
So.
Well, you are. Okay. Well, here, grab a slice. Choose whichever slice you want. Cheers. Okay.
All right, here we go.
Wow.
This is great.
I know, right?
It tastes like cheese.
Yeah.
Like a tomato basil
Yeah.
cheese. It does have that like cheesy taste, that squeaky mouthfeel. Yeah, there's no like cheese pool, but like that's not like you still could have fooled me. Like it has
Yeah.
a very cheesy, like it works in place of cheese.
Yeah. I mean, like, of course, there's no like cheese pool. It didn't melt at all.
Right.
I wasn't going for that.
Yeah.
You know, we use a lot of these vegan cheeses that have like, they're mostly starch and a lot of like fat and stuff, where this is like almost no fat. There's fiber in it.
Yeah.
A tiny bit of carbohydrates, but not much. It's mostly protein. It's really good for you.
I mean, sometimes you see chunks of cheese on it. It's not always like melted. I guess on a pizza it is, but like, I guess you could even say this is like a bruschetta or a flatbread in a way, you know? But I mean, to me, like it's like it works like a cheese pizza,
Yeah.
you know?
This is more like what I wish a lot of these pizza places would sell.
Yeah. No, this is great. I'm gonna finish this.
Well, that's it, baby. This is our lunch. This is mine. That's yours. Well, it just depends. Do you like the middle or do you want the crust?
I'll take this one.
Yeah?
Yeah, I'm like very open.
Okay. Well, boom. That's lunch.
Boom. Yay.
Oh, love that.
Yeah, it's great.